I am Mama Nkechi, and I'm really very thrilled to be able to host this evening session with respect to soulful empowerment. And it is not every day that we have a living legend in our midst. It's not every day that we have a living legend, but we have a living legend in our midst today, right here, right now. And I'm just very blessed to be able to be sitting right here with you, my sister. Oh, my goodness gracious. I went to Wikipedia, and before I go there, I just want to, about the sponsors, the sponsors are some with respect to Thai tours and the sponsors in terms of IFA University. I'm ready to get my travel on so I can get back there to Tanzania. I'm ready to get my studies on, at IFA University. But Mama C, you are indeed what we call a living legend. So, I went to Wikipedia just to see what they said about you, and they said names. Okay. They said Charlotte Hill Oneal. Okay. But they said names. Yes, yeah. They said Mama C. It said Ia Oshatunde Fasuyi. Okay. It said occupation, community organizer, artist, author. It said political party. Now I'm expecting, independent, Democrat, whatever. It said Black Panther Party. It said movement, Black Power Movement. Okay. It said co-director, the United African Alliance Community Center. It talked about your books of poetry and all the things. We're going to be getting into that. Now, this wasn't in Wikipedia, but it said that you speak Swahili with a Midwestern drawl. They said that on your left shoulder there is a picture of a Black Panther. That's right. And on your arm there is a picture of a Sankofa. Go back and fetch it. Learn from and remember our past. I know you and your husband have lived in Tanzania lived in Africa for really 50 years. But before we get to you, so we can hear in your own words just who you are, we're going to just show a 3-minute trailer. A trailer from a documentary that you did called Mama C, Urban Warrior in the African Bush. You want to get that keyed up because I think it gives just a little bit of flavor as to this living legend that is sitting here before me here today as part of Emo Day. So we're about to see this 3-minute trailer, y'all.
But I didn't do the trailer. It was done about
you. It was done about you. Yeah. We're going to be getting to the ones that you did or that you're going to be doing. So we're going to see this 3-minute trailer if we are ready for that, Baba Uchenna. All right. No sound.
Just got off the most enthusiasm of living in Africa. I tried to blend, to melt, homogenize, disappear, and erase the essence of what made me who I was and am, an African, who grew up in and was molded by the hoods of America, and I almost lost myself. Right after I graduated, I ran away from home, and I started living in
my sister. Before you were Mother Africa, before you were Mama C, before you were the wife of Pete Oneal, before you were the mother of Malcolm and Stormy, before you were E.I. Oshatunde Fasuyi, you were 17-year-old Charlotte Hill from Kansas City, Kansas. How about Charlotte? Tell us about how you went from a curious high school student to a thrilling Black Panther love story, and from an amazing escape from the United States to live for over 50 years on the continent of Africa. Tell us your story, Mama C.
It's certainly been a journey and a blessing. It's like a dream. It really is. I had always studied about Africa and China and India, but I never ever thought I would actually be living in Africa. So after I met Brother Pete Oneal, you know, there were so many things going on. But let me back up.
Yeah, before you didn't meet him when you were 17 years old.
No, I was 18.
Go back just a little bit further.
Yes. I was born and raised in Kansas City, Kansas. And my father was a fireman. My mother was a church musician for more than 50 years. And they always encouraged me to be who I am and to explore who I am and to make sure that I had the wherewithal to be an artist. From the time I was in kindergarten, I was directing the band. I was the writer for the science fair projects. I was in plays, the choir, all of that. I was born an artist. You know, I'm sure I was listening to my mother's heartbeat when I was in the womb, you know. So when I emerged as an artist. But then my community, it was an all-Black community, and it was so tightly woven. All my teachers were from our community. Even the police were from our community, so they couldn't go around abusing people because they knew our parents. You know, they partied with our parents. They went to school with our parents. And this, I'll skip up a little bit. As Black Panthers, we said we had to have community control. Well, I witnessed that. I also witnessed segregation. And the high school that I went to, Wyandotte High School, was newly integrated for 3 years. As a matter of fact, I was the only female in the whole school who had my hair in the natural. And I would wear my African clothes. I went from mini skirts to African clothes. And the vice principal actually suspended me because of that. And he was a Black man. He said I was calling too much attention to myself. So my parents had to come up there and get me back in school. So at the age of 17, I joined the Kansas City School of Human Dignity. And everybody else, some of them were in the medical field, some of them were teachers. I was 17 years old, and they had families and children. So what we did was study African history, and we would go around Kansas City and share that history. But then, my sister, I started seeing these images of these fine Black men in their berets and their leather jackets and their shades marching up and down the street. And then I saw Brother Pete Oneal.
Oh, shucks.
Who announced that the Kansas City chapter of Black Panther Party had formed. I had cut out articles, they were all on my wall, including pictures of him, but I never thought I would actually meet him.
Put that vibration out there.
Yes, so I did.
Yeah, well, tell us about that.
Well, they can read about that in my upcoming memoir. But when I met Brother Pete, it was actually, we were getting disciplined. Because we have very strict rules, and some of us had gone against the rules. So he was disciplining us, and I kept saying, he kept telling me, be quiet, don't talk, And I said, yeah, I said, my daddy said I got the right to talk. And I did. And I think he was a little intrigued, even though it upset him that I was talking back to him. So a short time later, he moved on his intriguedness. and within a month, we were married. David Hilliard, who was the chief of staff back then, he actually pronounced us revolutionary husband and wife, or brother and sister. That's what we used to say.
You're 18 now.
I'm 18.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm 18 back then. He was 29.
I was gonna go there.
Yeah, I always say he was my older man. And so when we came back from Oakland, and he took me on my first plane ride out to Oakland, California, and I was able to meet a lot of brothers and sisters. That's the first time I met Brother Emory Douglas.
The artist.
Yes, the artist who was the Minister of Culture of the Black Panther Party. And I met a lot of the other Panthers. So many of your viewers will know about COINTELPRO.
Well, I'm not quite sure about that. So why don't you just give a very brief synopsis? And listening audience, you should listen to this. This is going to be a poll coming up soon that's going to have questions, Q&A on it. And I think COINTELPRO is one of those questions.
Okay.
So go up,
The COINTELPRO is a counterintelligence insurgency program that was formed by J. Edgar Hoover, who was the head of the FBI. And many people don't know that didn't start with the Panthers. Even Martin Luther King was under surveillance. Eventually, J. Edgar Hoover pronounced that the Black Panther Party were the greatest threat to the internal security of America.
Public enemy number one.
Yes, and I always say, now, why would he say that? It couldn't be because, we believed in defending our community, with weapons or by any means necessary, as Brother Malcolm would say. Couldn't have been that, because of course America, I think, still has the greatest arsenal of weapons on the planet.
And it could have been the pre-breakfast program.
No,
I
think that was part of it.
Oh, okay.
The fact that we had the pre-breakfast program, all chapters had to have that. It started in Oakland. The sickle cell anemia testing started in Oakland. All of that spread across the country. And I'm saying that was probably a part of it because here we were young. Some of us were teenagers. I think that embarrassed the U.S. government that we were able to put together programs in all these cities, and that were emulated even outside of America. And then the American government wasn't even doing it. They didn't have Head Start then, or all these other programs that came about because of what the Black Panther Party
That's what free breakfast in schools ended up.
Yes. And also a great threat was the fact that we work with all people. If you were progressive, if you were revolutionary in your thinking, we didn't care where you came from, all of that, We were building unity. And unity is always a threat to the so-called powers that be.
So how do we go, Mama Charlotte, from building unity, you recently got married, but then you found yourself overseas, having to escape the United States. What was that all about?
Well, Brother Pete, who was the founder of the Kansas City chapter and the chairman of the Kansas City chapter, was one of several leaders in the Black Panther Party and other progressive organizations that were targeted. COINTELPRO wanted to take them down. COINTELPRO wanted to grow disunity in the Black Panther Party in order to destroy it. So he was targeted, and he was targeted at that time because he and some other Panthers went to Washington, D.C. to the Senate. The security was a little different in those days, And what they want to do is present some evidence that the then chief of police of Kansas City, who was Clarence Kelly, and who later became the head of the FBI.
Clarence Kelly, I remember his name on all those coin-topo documents.
Yes, that's right. They wanted to, Brother Pete wanted to put before the Senate evidence that Clarence Kelly had been involved in gun running or enabling that with the Minutemen and with the John Birch Society. These were right-wing organizations. So when they tried to present that, 3 weeks later, Brother Pete was busted. And I remember this so well. He was busted right outside of our headquarters.
So he wasn't accused of killing anybody.
No.
He didn't rob any banks or anything like that.
No.
Well, what is it that he did? So
He didn't even do that. They said that he bought a shotgun and carried that shotgun across state lines. Now,
I just want to say what's interesting about that, because on the news today, every day, this is the trial of the white boy. And that is exactly what he did.
But he
killed people. And we're not going to say what the ultimate verdict is going to be. But now 50 years ago.
And the thing, but the thing about it, they never said that he had the gun in his possession. They never said he did a crime with the gun. Matter of fact, another Panther had the gun. The police confiscated it and sold it and had to get it back.
So we're going to jump forward just a little bit.
Okay.
Because we want to get to you being in it. Why did you decide that you had to leave?
Well, he went to trial. First it was hung jury. Then they convicted him. And he received 5 years. He was out on bail. He was out on bail, and he had some more cases coming up, too, of disrupting a religious service, because we were trying to make sure that one of the churches that was in the Black community contributed to the Breakfast for School Children program. He had been told by police that the only way he was going to come out of prison when they got him was in a box. He had been told that they would be gunning him down. It was a painful decision to make that we were going to leave. We left but we thought we was coming back in 2 years. We left with the aid of what I call the New Age Underground Railroad.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, who aided a lot of our commerce.
Yes, indeed.
We had to leave in the trunk of a car, and I tell you, I had claustrophobia, but the ancestors were with me. I was able to be calm, and we rode in that car to a certain point and got out and went to the airport. And after a while, we went to Sweden, but our goal was to go to the international section of the Black Panther Party. Algeria, this was founded by Eldridge Cleaver, Kathleen Cleaver, and some other Panthers in exile. We were there for 2 years, and things started deteriorating with the government there, who was a revolutionary government and aided revolutionary parties from all over the world. So people in Tanzania started telling us, y'all need to come here. This is a socialist government. It's a Pan-African government. Julius Nyerere, Ujamaa, all of that. So we decided to go there. And we were welcomed by the government as freedom fighters and as exiled people. So to make a long story shorter, we became homesteaders. We had to learn how to do all of that. We knew nothing about farming, sister.
We're going to get into that.
Okay.
Because I just want to just backtrack just for a moment, because I was honored to meet you and Brother Pete and your children. They were little then, way back in 1987.
Yeah.
And that was about 15 years, I think, after you had settled in Tanzania. And I remember you talking about this great center that you and Pete were going to be, and you were in the process of visualizing it in building. And then I came back about 32 years later, a couple of years ago, with Mama Lydia's African Safari Group.
Yeah.
And the United African Alliance Community Center was in full swing. It was thriving. There were beautifully painted portraits of Black Panthers and other leaders, all adorning all of the buildings. There was a school, a shop, an art center, a well. There were historical figures. I mean, tell us about that part of the journey, the homestead. And, I mean, I know only pork and all like that, but y'all was raising pigs. I mean, you were surviving, you know. So tell us about that and making sauce and how the center came to be. So tell us about that whole part of your journey.
The center came to be basically because the elders in our villages in the same, they saw all the innovative work that we were doing, even using termite mound soil to make the blocks to build our first house. And Brother Pete, they would see him up on the windmill that he learned how to build. And that served to generate our electricity. We didn't have any electricity. We didn't have any running water. We didn't have any of that. And you mentioned the well.
Yeah, oh yeah, that well. Brother Geronimo.
Yes. Our dear brother Geronimo, after he had got out of prison, after having been in there for 27 years,
Unjustly incarcerated.
As a matter of fact, in those days, the government compensated him with a lot of money. So when he got out, he came to us and asked us what was our greatest need. And at that time, our greatest need was water. Not only just for us, but for people for miles around who had to go fetch water, a bucket of water who might serve four people in a family, 4 or 5 people. So when we were able to dig that well, the first thing we did was to put public access to that water. And I'm telling you, it's still there. Many people will come there, and it says,
come and get that water.
Yes. So it has been a journey, and that journey has involved empowering the youth in our community.
Tell us about that, the youth, because there were youth all over the place. You have school there, and tell us about that whole integration.
Yes, and the first classes that we had, again, because the elders in the community wanted the youth to experience this, were computer classes. Then we started teaching English classes. That we were asked to do that. And me being an artist, I was like, we got to put some art up in here. So we started teaching fine art, sculpture. You've seen some of those sculptures, sewing, beadwork, and then we have a studio, Peace Power Productions. And so the youth, so many youth would come there and they would be so shy, had never experienced painting, none of that. And then I noticed you put a microphone in their hand, give them access to paints and all that, and sewing and all that. And they would just strut because they felt that they were empowered. The community looked at them like that. So then we started teaching carpentry. We started teaching because MJ is a genius. Brother Pete is a genius, And he started teaching electrical work, plumbing, all of that. We knew that these youth had to have entrepreneurial skills. And that's what we did. All our teachers are volunteers. Many of them were students that come back to teach, to share. Sharing knowledge for community development. Development is our motto. I could go on and on, but I'm not going to do it.
We're going to go in, but it flows because, we talked about your political journey with Black Panther Party. We talked about your journey to the mother continent. We talked about the unjust exile of your husband, Brother MJ, Pete Oneal. We talked about the phenomenal development of UAE ACC, United African Alliance Community. I said, I want to talk just a little bit about you, Mama C, as a cultural, as an artistic, as a healing messenger in your spiritual journey as Ia Oshutunde Alfasuyi, and just how you happen to connect with our own Ia Mari of Ile Imole.
Yes, and I still feel the blessing of having met Ia Marie, and we met in Bagamoyo, didn't we? Yes, and observing her different rituals that she offered to the community there, and I saw how her spirit is so in tune with my spirit. I knew her from the very beginning, and I learned so much from her. Of course, I was raised in the Baptist church and experienced a lot of the Pentecostal church, so I always tell people I carry that inside me also. So when I started learning about the Orisha spiritual path, that just grabbed me. And I was initiated to Oshun, and later I was initiated to the APS. Yes. And then I was initiated to the Egungun Society. The Egungun are our ancestors. And I do what I can to spread that to the youth. And you know, the youth that really, really embrace it so much is the hip hop community. They are so interested. We have workshops. Nana Sula has come there and done Orisha song workshops. All kinds of things. They see us doing our rituals. We invite them to join in. You know, I have my paintings of many of the Orisha there in Oshutunde's garden. And we have an ancestor wall, an ancestor garden where my dad, Sterling Emmanuel, he's laid to rest right there. So people see the way I carry myself, and especially the youth, and they know I love hip hop. I love conscious hip hop. So they're like, Mama C's into that, and she's into her spirituality. It must be something to that. So I'm so happy to share. You know, yeah.
So Mama C, when I was there, the second time I was there, we had movie night there, and the big what was on the screen was Black Panther, Wakanda, and I know that you have often characterized what you're doing there at the center, that this is Wakanda right there. I don't know if you want to just say something about that. And I know people have always been talking about, Pete and his legal situation, and that he should come back and apply for clemency. And if it comes, it's good, but he basically says he's at peace. I mean, talk to us about that.
Yeah, he's at peace. We have youth coming from all over the world, to learn from him and to learn from me also. And the work that we're doing is so fulfilling. We haven't said that he founded the Leaders of Tomorrow Children's Home.
Well, talk to us about that.
Yes, Leaders of Tomorrow Children's Home, where we've been raising 28 children for the last 12 years, empowering them to be leaders. Say your question again.
Yeah, no, you answer. It's like what you're doing there. You're living the Wakanda that we saw in the Black Panther.
Yes, that's what I want to say. Many people who might go into exile, it could be like a living hell, but for us, it's heaven, it's paradise. All the trees that we planted, all of that, So I always tell people, we can make our own Wakanda. And we have, and we invite people to come there and share in that and live that and get inspired by it. So if they come back to the States, some don't. Yeah, they like to stay there. But when they come back, they can spread the word that we can do what we can in our own communities here in America and other parts of the world. Build our Wakanda, y'all.
Build our Wakanda right here on this plane. That's what I'm talking about. We're bringing this first part to a close. Don't go anywhere because we got some more coming. But right now, what we want you to do is, as you're hearing this inspiration from Mama C and what she's building there, we need to kind of help her build that. You know what I'm saying? And we want you to take out your phones because we want to help to donate. Okay, we want to do a cash app, and we're going to have the donations come to ELA, EMOLA, and they're going to give the donations to you and your center so you can continue that Wakanda on earth. And it's on your screen, Cash App, $ ELA, EMOLA, but we also have PayPal as well. info@elaimole.com, and Ela Imole, ILEIMOLE. That's what we're talking about. And as we're doing that, also, your donations help to support. They help to support what's going on. It helps to support. Mama C been coming over to the States for years, several times a year. And I think what you said, Pete can't come back, but Mama C, I know you come back and forth, and that support is so very necessary. And we really, really do want to thank again our phenomenal sponsors, our sponsor E5 University and Tide Tours, and those emails are Tide Tours. I have it right here somewhere.
And while you're looking for that, I'd like to say we're never gonna get grants.
Never.
It's always been support from people who believe in the word from all over the world.
To believe with all our hearts and our parents, our teachers, our leaders, our people, and in the righteousness and in the victory of our struggle. So that's E5.University. That's our sponsor. Our other sponsor is TideTours.org. And Mama C, also, I want to make sure while we're in this particular segment here, that people know how to contact you. And may I give your email for them, please? It is Mama Charlotte's Music, 2 @yahoo.com. And we're going to hear her music a little bit in a little bit. But Mama Charlotte's Music, 2 @yahoo.com. And she has a PayPal.com, please. Right? PayPal.com is boostalife71 @gmail.com. That's B as in boy, U, S as in Sam, A, life, LIFE 71 @gmail. And the website for the United African Alliance Community Center is www.uaacc.net. That's uaacc.net.
And I'm on Facebook.
And you're on Facebook. Oh my goodness, yes indeed. And you're on Facebook, and that's probably under Charlotte. Our Facebook, Charlotte Hill Oneal, in parentheses, Oshitunde Fasui. And I'm going to let you pronounce that. We're going to bring our elders in a moment. Oh, we're going to have a song.
You're gonna go to
but just before we do that, I do want Baba Uchenna to put that first poll up on the screen. So as we're making this transition, folks can fill out the answers to that first poll that is there, so we can see how much information you have learned or what you might not have known before you came up in here. It only takes a couple of seconds to fill out the poll.
That's a good idea.
So let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, we're talking about technology. I mean, that's what we're talking about. Here. We do want to really thank everyone, Medasi, Madubre, for the donations that you have given and that you have provided. And we also want to let you know that we are going to have some giveaways. We're going to have some giveaways. We'll be taking your names and the giveaways will be coming. We're going to be having some giveaways with respect to Mama Charlotte, Homage, Charlotte Oneal, AKA Mama C. This is just a wealth of beauty and knowledge and passion with respect to poems that Mama Charlotte has, and she has some other books giveaways as well. And I have a couple as well too. Shameless. Black Power, Black Lawyer by Audacious Special Justice. Shining Legacy, you remember this from way back when I was there in 1987. Shining Legacy, this has been reprinted. Three Tales of Wisdom and The Adventures of Kojo and Amma. So we will be having these giveaways. Well, Jenna, Baba, have folks finished filling out that poll?
Responses are still coming in. We have 10 out of 34. Anybody else got 11?
Oh, responses are still coming in? Okay.
I think that might be it. Everybody, okay.
So, can I read the question and you give the answer as to the percentage of people what they responded? Is that okay, Baba Uchenna? Okay, so the first question was, I have heard of Mama C before this event. What did the results look like there? Are you ready for the results?
I'm ready for the poll. Is still open if anyone wants to go ahead and continue filling it out, but I'll read the results as they stand. 64% had not heard.
Oh, 64% had not heard of you before. Well, I'm glad we had this. But now those 64% have heard. They're going to tell the rest of them. Okay, the second question was, I have been to Tanzania before. What were the results, Baba Uchenna?
13% of attendees have been to Tanzania.
Only 13%. Okay, Thai tours. They need to get on up over there to you so that they can get to Tanzania, so they can visit you over there. Okay, so the next question is, I stayed at Baba Pete and Mama Charlotte's compound. Yes or no? What's our percentage?
We had another respondent send in saying they've been to Tanzania, so it's the same percentage. It's higher, right? 16% of people have been to Tanzania. All of those respondents staying at Mama C.
Okay, this was a multiple choice. I hope that worked out right. It said Mama C is, and choose all you think apply. The answers were, Mama C is a former member of the Black Panther Party, a poet, a visual artist, a musician, a mother, a wife, a priestess. How do we come? How do people respond to that one?
Okay, so I'll give a tiered ranking. So the highest percentage of individuals, 86% of attendees, said that she was a former member of the Black Panther Party, a visual artist, and a writer. And the next tier, 76% of attendees said that she was a poet, a musician, and a mother. And then finally, the lowest percentage of attendees, 71%, said it was multiple choice. People chose multiple, right? It's 1%. 100. Final 71% of attendees said that she was a priestess. Means that very few people believe that honestly she is a priestess.
Well, so now they know. Yes, indeed. I'm going to reach out in here. I have seen the video of Panther in Africa about Pete Oneal. Yes or no?
86% of attendees have seen that.
Really?
Wow.
86% have seen the video of Panther in Africa. Why can't Pete Oneal come back to the United States? Choose one. Number one, he committed murder. Number two, he renounced the citizenship of the U.S. Number three, if he returned, he would be put in prison for allegedly carrying a gun across state lines. Or number four, he stormed the Capitol on January 6th. What one did folks choose?
No one thinks that he committed murder. 81% of attendees got it correct that he was put in prison on carrying a gun across state lines. 19% of attendees
He did not. Yeah. Okay, and have you heard of COINTELPRO before? Yes or no?
This one is interesting.
Okay.
How many have heard of so pro versus have heard of C? And thankfully we're having this event even at those percentages.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Father Uchenna. We'll have our last poll at the end. But right now, I'm just really honored to bring before us our elders of Imole. We're going to engage in some elder discussion with the elders of Imole. Mama C, here we have Mother. We have Mother Ajua. We have Mama Barbara. And we have Mama Ajua Rose. And so, there are interconnections with respect to what we do over here spiritually and what happens on the continent spiritually. I just want just a little, I'm not going to raise any questions, just a little back and forth. If you have questions or comments or anything, just engage, elders. Y'all the elders. I'm still, I'm a youngin'.
Okay, Mother Audra, Mama C, I just can't explain how honored I am to be in your presence. And I'm just so full right now. And while you were talking, I could remember a lot of the struggles that was going on. In fact, I've been in the struggle also since I was a teenager. In fact, I met Nkechi as a teenager in a study group studying African history and Black history. So I know that the road has been hard. And like I said, I'm really, really full right now. But as you were talking, I was thinking a lot of the things that you shared with us that went on back then is still happening today. It may have a new look, even a new attitude, but the struggle continues and it still happens today. And I'd like, if you don't mind, to basically speak to our young people because, like I said, the struggle continues. People have to take up the banner. We have to pass the baton on to the next group. What would advice would you give our young people? And I'm glad you shared about the hip hop because they're the one that actually kind of still talking about our struggle and what to do, even our spirituality. So what would you say to them, and what charge would you give them in order to continue?
I'd like to say it to them in a song, a short song. Don't give up. Don't give up, y'all. Don't you give up. Life may get rough and things may get tough, but don't you give up. And I also like to ask the elders who have all this wisdom, who have all this knowledge, whether it's from turning urban lots into gardens, whether it's teaching math or reading or any of that, we got to join hands with the youth. We have to. And one of the ways I found to join hands effectively with the youth is through hip hop. That's the language of the global community. Everywhere I've ever gone, hip hop is the thing that draws you, and then you can kind of slide in this knowledge, once you have them like that. Yes. Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to ask you any particular question, but I'm going to be transparent in that before Imole decided we would have this program, I had not heard of Mama C. Now, I heard of Black Panthers because at 18, I was serving food at the Black Panthers breakfast. Okay. I grew up in the Baptist church, and it was a natural leap from the Baptist church to Orisha, to African traditional. But I do want to say that the minute I saw you, and we met upstairs, I knew that you and I were sisters from another mother.
That's
Okay. I recognized her jewelry. I knew the person who made it. Okay. So I just want to say it's been really good to listen to how you feel and the things that you do. And my grandson is a hip hop artist. In fact, I just bought him a big anthology of hip hop from African Museum. But hip hop, I'm always hearing the hip hop music and whatnot, and we have to say to our youth, we have to understand and listen to what it is that they're saying, so that they will listen to what it is that we're saying.
That's right.
Yes, this has been a wonderful experience. I'm just so honored to have met you. And I had wondered initially about what the changes were from when you moved to Tanzania to now, but you kind of explained that in your discussion. So it's, I was just wondering if you had additional information about how the culture or the things that has changed since you first moved to Tanzania to the way things are now.
When we first went to Tanzania, it was very strongly socialist, and Tanzania is like 70% farming community. And that is slowly changing, even though the youth who are living and working in town, everybody has their own shamba. Their shamba is their village. So, everyone respects the land, and they know that we need to be on the land. And when I'm talking to the youth, I make sure that they understand the nature spirits that surround us. The Orisha, I refer to it as the nature spirits, the spirits of nature, and that helps people respect nature. We also have our first female president. Yeah, so, and she seems to be pretty progressive, and the population of females are standing up for their rights. So that's something that has changed more and more also. And more youth are kind of turning away from Western culture and embracing the traditional cultures of their own families and communities. And I think that's beautiful. And again, that's even in hip hop, And y'all need to know when I'm saying hip hop, I'm talking about conscious hip hop. I'm not talking about gangster rap. No, that ain't hip hop. Yes. And they're getting more and more exposed to conscious Africans who come there from the diaspora. So that's good too. And they see how we embrace the culture. And we brought it back to places that had denied the cultures of Africa. So I'm proud to be a part of that. I'm proud to see so many brothers and sisters coming back, even if it's just to visit. Yes, even though many are starting to repatriate there, to live there. Yeah, so that's good too. Yes.
Someone to hear from
Yeah. I just want to say that music basically is our culture.
Yes.
So if you go back to even in the past, we've used music to, like I'm Black and I'm Proud and different songs that just, as we moved into struggles, the song addressed our struggles and where our next path should be. So it's only common that hip hop now is talking about our spirituality and what it is we do. And I just want to say one other thing that I know in Africa that spirituality and religion, that some may want to refer to, is a way of life. It's not something that you just do on Sunday. It's how you live your life every day. So could you talk a little bit about how practicing spirituality, the African, how it has affected and helped you in your programs?
And we give the youth, our programs encompass many tribes or communities. I like the word tribe. And everybody has their own way of expressing their spirituality. And so we have workshops where the youth can say, well, this is what my grandmother told me about this. Yes, and these are the foods that we eat. And sometimes we go to what I refer to our ocean river, which is actually Usa River. And we have our rituals there in the forest. And one of the things that I saw when I pour libations, for instance, in the Maasai community, they use milk instead of water, but they see how so much of the spiritual practices that we practice mirror theirs, and that's always a point of discussion. I think that's beautiful. They say we have so many things in common, even in the Islamic community there. They still revere the ancestors. In the Christian community, they revere the ancestors, they lift up the ancestors. And we even have trees. We have huge trees on some of our land that we were gifted, where the women come and give offerings to that tree and say that is a part of giving offerings to the Creator and to the nature spirit. So it's always pointed out that we're one.
Our cultural unity of the continent and the diaspora all coming together as one.
Yes.
And I think this will be a good time to share with us a little bit of some of that cultural unity from across the ocean to over here, and tell us about this wonderful string instrument that is here, just what it is called, and tell us just what you're going to share for us. And as you're getting that together, after that, we're going to hear from some other elders in the community, conversation back and forth, and we're going to conclude with our final song by our dear sister, Soini. So, Mama C, share with us. I can go with this.
Yeah, you can hold.
Yeah.
So this is a Nkechi, and it's an 8-string lyre as opposed to a harp. We have Nkechi, a lot of Nkechis in East Africa, even in Ethiopia. Sometime when
Sounds like you're saying Nkechi.
What's the name? Nkechi.
Oh, Nkechi. Maybe almost like my name.
The interesting thing about this instrument is that it used to be taboo for women to play.
Oh.
It was used in many ceremonies and rituals, and even when a man would pass away, they would play this when a man was born. But now a few women play.
So you're one of those few?
I'm one of the few, who was inspired to play it by Susan and Ati Sana and women like that who have carried on these traditions. Traditionally it's played on the ground, but many artists, they don't play it on the ground anymore. They play it like this. So, I'm going to ask our attendees to sing a little part with me. Okay, but I'm going to start it. We're the knowers. We're the dreamers, and we are the soars. Indigo children, the teachers and the preachers. And we're the chosen. We're the artists, and we're the seekers, and we walk. We walk, y'all. We walk the way of a new world. Now this is what y'all don't say. I'm sing it first. We walk, we walk, we walk, we walk, we walk, we walk the way of a new world. Now here we go, y'all. Y'all ready?
Yes.
We walk, we walk, we walk, we We walk the way of the new world. One more time. We walk, we walk, we walk, we walk, we walk, we walk the way of the new world. The way of the new world. The way of the new world. I'll give thanks, y'all. I give thanks, I give thanks. We walk, we walk, we walk, we walk, we walk, we walk. The way of the new world, the way of the new world. Yeah, put it on my forehead. Oh, we give thanks, y'all. Oh, ancestors in the house.